One of the biggest parts of hiring process and onboarding process for the new employees in any company is signing an employment contract. Now, many times this happens right now electronically, and many teams struggle with this manual process of actually creating or putting together that contract specific to that employee or that potential employee, and then sending that to the applicant, making sure that the applicant signs the document, then countersigning the documents, and then storing that document somewhere in your Google Drive or your Dropbox account. Now, with this video, we will be building an automated system that will help us do just that. So let's get straight into this. All right, so our process is going to start inside a ClickUp system. So ClickUp is a project management tool that in this case we are using for managing all our applications and applicant information. Now, as you can see over here, we have a dedicated list to our applications. So we're receiving the applications using an online form. All the answers are recorded inside these applications in here, so we can manage all the decisions and again communicate internally if we want to move forward with that applicant or not. You can see all the application questions are answered over here, so it's easier for us to make the decision by seeing this data inside this single platform inside ClickUp. Now, what we want to do is we want to send the contract to that person because we decided to move forward when we decided to hire this specific applicant. In our case, it's going to be Jordan Mitchell. What we are ready to do is we're ready to send the DocuSign contract to Jordan. Now, in DocuSign, we're going to have a separate template with our employment contract. Let me quickly show you how that looks. So this is the employment agreement that we have on DocuSign. Over here, you can see that the employee full name, email address, and a couple of other data points are empty, and they are left empty because we want to fill them out with the information that is specific to the applicant to whom we're sending this document. So in this case, we don't need to manually fill out this information whenever we're preparing this employment agreement for the applicant. So this is how it looks. And again, we're going to be using DocuSign for generating this envelope and sending it to the applicant so he or she can sign the applicant. So let's get back to our ClickUp task where we see the application for Jordan. And now let's create the contract. Now, in order for us to create the contract, we're going to click this checkbox over here. Now, as you can see, the status of the task just changed. Previously, it was interview scheduled. Right now, we completed the interview. Let's say this task automatically moved into employment offer, meaning that we successfully created the contract, the employment contract task for this person, and we're ready to send the contract to them electronically. So in order to send the contract, we're going to switch to a different list, which is called employment contract. So I'm actually going to reload this task. And what we should see here is we should see a new relationship task created. So it says contract for Jordan Mitchell. Now, we managed the application for Jordan inside ClickUp, and we had a separate list for that with all the statuses that are specific to the application. Now it's time for us to manage the contract the same way. So we're creating a separate list. As you can see over here, it has different set of statuses: not sent, sent, signed, and then complete, so that we can keep track of where that contract is. Again, at a given point of time, we can have multiple contracts inside this list. So we want to have it as easy as possible to see and manage all those contracts at the same time inside the same platform. Now in here, as I have the new task created, I can assign this task to myself. I can also put the due date for today to make sure that I send this contract by the end of today. Perfect. Now, as we have our contract task created, let's go and actually send that DocuSign envelope to our applicant or potential employee at this time. So I'm going to open the task. Over here, you can see the send contract checkbox. So again, I'm going to click that checkbox in here, and within a couple of seconds, it should be updating the automation details over here to successful. And you can see also over here, it updated the task status to sent, meaning that we successfully sent the contract to Jordan. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to refresh this page. I'm going to make sure that all the fields are filled out correctly. So you can see envelope successfully sent. The automation status is successful. We also have the DocuSign envelope ID, which is not of any use for the regular users of the system. We can even hide this field from the users, but it becomes very, very handy for automation and integration purposes to know exactly which envelope on DocuSign corresponds to which application inside our ClickUp account. Now, let's go into my inbox and see how that request for signature looks like from there. All right, so this is the request that we have over here. You can see the 5:12 p.m. 0 minutes ago. This is the request, the employment agreement that we sent to our Jordan. So you can see Jordan says over here. I'm going to click on review the documents. And now what we need to see here is all the information that is specific to Jordan to be pre-filled in this document. We don't want Jordan to fill out anything unnecessary here because we already captured all the information from him. So you can see here, it says the full name is Jordan, his email, it has his full address, his birthday, and his phone number in here. Now, in order for us to check that this is the accurate information, we can go back into our application record inside ClickUp. We can just make sure this is his name, email, this is his date of birth, which is again the February 19th to 1992. Go to the agreement over here. Where was that? Was here. You can see that it says 19 February 1992. The address is Palm Avenue 304 West Palm Beach, Florida, and this is the exact address that we have over here together with the phone number. So again, this information that got pre-filled here is accurate, is correct. Now what we need to do is we need to sign on behalf of Jordan. So here we're going to click on sign. We're going to complete the signature, and the next part we're going to sign as the HR manager from our company. Right, so the signature is now completed by Jordan. So what we want to do is we want to go back to our employment contract and make sure that that status is reflected inside our task in ClickUp, because we want to know when Jordan signed the agreement and when we need to countersign that agreement with our signature. So for now, you can see the status is sent. Let's give it a couple more minutes so it can refresh the status here, and we should expect to see it in the signed by employee status. All right, perfect. So now we can see the status here says signed by employee. Over here we can see the comment that says contract successfully signed by employee, and now it's our turn to countersign that agreement. So let me go back to my inbox and countersign the same agreement with my signature. You can see now we're signing as HR manager here on the left. Jordan's signature is already there, and it also pre-fills the effective off date as off date in the contract as well. So the contract is complete. Now, as the signature from the HR manager is on the document as well, now we should be expecting to have this document or task inside our ClickUp reflect the status. So we're going to reload the page and see if the status changes in there. Again, it's probably going to take a couple more seconds. So let me show you the end result and how it looks like in ClickUp. All right, so now we have the contract for Jordan Mitchell. This is the contract we were looking at. The status was signed by employee. Now it's signed by both sides. You can see over here the new comment that was posted saying agreement signed by both sides. Documents successfully added. And over here at the very bottom of this task, which is actually a very nice feature of the system, is that it also adds the fully signed and executed agreement. So over here you can see that all the data that was pre-filled automatically is in here, and we can also see both signatures here at the bottom of the document. So again, which makes this application complete. We can see now signed by both sides. We can move it to complete if we upload it to wherever we need it. Maybe we don't need it in ClickUp, and maybe we want this to be uploaded into Google Drive. That can be actually done automatically as well as soon as we receive this notification from DocuSign that both parties signed. In this case, we're going to be storing this in ClickUp. So this task is complete. And as we go to our application, we can also say the application is hired as well. So as we reviewed this automated system, we were able to automatically send DocuSign contracts for signature to our potential employees. We're also able to track the status and the progress of those contracts inside our ClickUp account. So we're able to see when one person signed, when both people signed. We're also able to see the final completed and executed PDF document inside the same system. So again, we did not need to switch multiple tabs or to create those DocuSign envelopes and contracts manually. It all happened automatically. And in the middle of all of this, we have three main Zapier scenarios. So if you're curious how the system works from a more technical perspective, let me quickly show you this. So the first of the Zapier scenarios is responsible for actually creating a new application contract task inside our ClickUp account. If you remember, we had a separate application task that was tracking the progress of our application as it went through the hiring and onboarding process. And we also created a separate ClickUp task to be able to manage it better inside ClickUp for our employment contract. So this is exactly what it does. You remember it was triggered by the change of the status. So this is what this part of the Zapier hook does. It listens to all the events inside ClickUp, and then as soon as the status changes to the appropriate status, we create a new task, and we're also linking this new task back to our application, so we know which contracts belong to which applications. The second part of our system was responsible for actually sending the contract to the applicant. If you remember, we were checking the checkbox, and that was sending the email with the DocuSign link. And again, this is what this Zap does. It essentially listens again to all the events inside ClickUp, and it only reacts to those which are triggering or like checking the checkbox that we checked together with you. Then it finds the related contract tasks that we had in there that has potentially all the information that we need to send the contract to the applicant. And now over here, it has two different paths. Now, the reason why is because the first path is responsible for actually generating and sending a new contract to the applicant, while the path B is responsible for not sending a new contract but resending the existing contract. You see, sometimes when people receive emails, they're not replying from the first time. So we might want to follow up with the applicant saying, please sign this document, or notifying them, or just having that email pop up on the top of their inbox. Again, this is why we need path B, because we're not recreating the contract. We're sending the same contract one more time. So if you can see over here in path A, we're finding our application from where we're basically taking all the related applicant information, like their name, email, and all the rest of their address. We're also sending the envelope using the template. So this is the template I showed you at the very beginning, where we had some blank spaces in order for us to fill out this with the information specific to the applicant. And we're updating our ClickUp task because we want automation and the Zapier automation to communicate back to our end user to tell them that the automation worked successfully and the envelope was sent successfully as well. And this is exactly what we saw as we tested with system together with you. Now, the path B on the other side is actually not creating a new envelope, but it's just resending the existing envelope. This is, if you remember, we had that DocuSign envelope ID field inside our ClickUp task for the contract. So it allowed us to understand if the envelope was already created or if we need to create a new envelope. And if it was already there, the value was in that field, we could just simply resend the same contract and not waste our envelopes inside DocuSign, because they are not unlimited on paid plans. All right, and the final most exciting functionality here is then that when the envelope was completed and where someone signed the envelope, we also wanted that information to be reflected inside our ClickUp contract task. So this is what happened. Recipients completed the envelope. This is the trigger on Zapier. And now over here, the path A is responsible for updating the status when one of the recipients completes the envelope, meaning the applicant signs the envelope. At this point, we don't need to upload the final PDF. This is why this path A is relatively small, while path B over here actually downloads the envelope documents from DocuSign, right? So this is the final executed version of the PDF that we saw inside that task, and it updates that PDF into the ClickUp task. Again, exactly what we saw inside our demo. And it also posts a comment saying that the document was successfully signed, telling everyone that this applicant is now officially hired. I hope this video was helpful and it helped you understand and kind of get a couple more ideas about how you can automate some of the essential processes inside your company as well. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.